It's an ordinary Tuesday, if Tuesdays existed yet. The air is warm and thick with oxygen. A shallow sea cuts through what will one day be Mexico. Ferns sway along the shoreline. Somewhere nearby, a triceratops is chewing through a mouthful of cycad leaves, completely unbothered. You have about 6 hours left. You have no idea. Nothing about this morning looks like an ending. The sky is clear. The temperature is pleasant. Dinosaurs have been running this planet for over 150 million years, and there is no reason, from where you're standing, to think that's about to change. Then, somewhere above the atmosphere, a rock roughly 6 miles wide crosses Earth's orbit at exactly the wrong moment. It's already too late. It was too late hours ago. The object is moving at around 45,000 miles an hour. At that speed, it crosses the distance from the edge of space to the ground in about 2 seconds. 2 seconds, less time than it took you to read that sentence. There is no warning. No shockwave arrives first. The sky simply tears open, and the world ends before the sound of it does. The impact strikes what is now the Yucatan Peninsula, carving out a crater over 90 miles wide. For comparison, that's larger than the distance from one side of a small country to the other. The energy released is estimated at over 1 billion times the force of the Hiroshima bomb. Within the first minute, everything within 1,000 miles is gone, not damaged, gone. The heat at the impact site briefly exceeds the surface of the sun. But the worst part isn't the crater. It's what happens next. The impact throws molten rock and debris straight up, past the atmosphere, into space itself. And then gravity does the cruelest thing it possibly can. It brings all of that debris back down, everywhere on Earth, at once. Within hours, glowing fragments are re-entering the atmosphere by the trillions, all over the planet. Each one burns as it falls, and there are so many of them that the sky itself becomes an oven. Scientists studying the layer of ash left behind estimate that within hours of impact, the heat radiating from the sky was enough to ignite wildfires across most of the planet, even thousands of miles from the crater. If you were standing in what's now Wyoming or Mongolia or anywhere on Earth that day, you wouldn't need to see the crater to know something had gone wrong. You'd just look up and watch the sky start to glow. Forests that had stood for millions of years were burning within a single afternoon. And that's just the first day. Here's the part most people never hear about, and it's the part that actually explains the extinction. The impact itself killed an enormous number of animals almost instantly, but it didn't kill the dinosaurs, not most of them anyway, not yet. What killed them was what came after. The blast threw so much dust, soot, and vaporized rock into the upper atmosphere that it wrapped the entire planet in a layer of haze within weeks. Sunlight, which every living thing on Earth depended on, was cut by as much as 90%. The sun didn't go out, it just stopped mattering. Photosynthesis collapsed almost everywhere on the planet within months. Plants died first. Then the animals that ate the plants. Then the animals that ate those animals. A food chain that had taken 150 million years to build unraveled in less time than it takes a human to finish school. Temperatures dropped sharply worldwide. Some estimates put the global cooling at over 25 degrees Fahrenheit, turning what had been a warm, humid planet into something closer to a permanent, dim winter. This period is now known among paleontologists as impact winter, and it may have lasted for years, not months. Imagine being one of the largest animals ever to walk the Earth, built to eat hundreds of pounds of vegetation a day, in a world where the plants have simply stopped growing. Size, which had been the winning strategy for 150 million years, became a death sentence overnight. The bigger you were, the more food you needed, and the less of it there was. But it gets stranger. The ocean didn't escape either. Acid rain from the vaporized rock and sulfur made the upper layers of seawater more acidic almost immediately. Marine ecosystems that had thrived for millions of years began collapsing right alongside the ones on land. By the time the dust finally settled, years later, somewhere around 3/4 of all species on Earth were gone. Every dinosaur except the branch that had already become birds was wiped out completely, every single one. Some of the largest, most successful animals in the history of the planet, gone in a geological instant. So who made it through? Not the strongest, not the biggest, not the fastest. The animals that survived that day shared almost nothing in common except a handful of unglamorous traits. They were small. They could burrow underground, away from the heat and the falling debris. They didn't need much food to stay alive, which mattered enormously in a world where food had nearly disappeared. And they could eat almost anything. Seeds, insects, decaying plant matter, whatever scraps the disaster left behind. Paleontologists studying the fossil record on either side of this boundary keep finding the same pattern. The animals on the survived list are small, burrowing, generalist, and frankly, forgettable. Those animals were the earliest mammals, your ancestors. Not the impressive ones, not the dominant ones. The small, twitchy, unremarkable ones that happened to be built exactly right for a catastrophe nobody saw coming. And here's the detail worth sitting with. For the previous 150 million years, mammals had been stuck. Small, nocturnal, easily overshadowed by the reptiles that ruled every ecosystem on the planet. That single afternoon didn't just end the age of dinosaurs. It opened the only door mammals ever got. If that asteroid had missed Earth by even a few minutes, arriving at a slightly different point in the planet's orbit, it very likely sails past entirely. The dinosaurs keep their planet. Mammals stay small, stay hidden, stay forgettable, forever. No mammals spreading into every open niche. No primates, no humans. No one left to ever wonder what happened that day, because no one capable of wondering would have existed to ask. So picture that ordinary Tuesday again. The warm air, the shallow sea, the triceratops chewing its lunch, completely unaware that it has 6 hours left. That was the last normal day large reptiles ever had on this planet. And it was also, without anyone alive to notice it, the first day of yours. You didn't survive that afternoon because you were strong, or fast, or impressive in any way. You survived it because something small, unremarkable, and easy to overlook happened to be hiding in a burrow when the sky caught fire. That's not a footnote in your history. That's the whole reason you have one.